Ghana is beautiful, but we already know that, right? When we talk about our nation to visitors, exactly how much of our history, our culture, and our natural resources can we confidently educate them about? Do we know who the first Asantehene was? Do we know how deep the Volta Lake is? Who built the Larabanga Mosque? Take me, for example. Until very recently, I had never been to Tamale. Not once. And when I finally visited that thriving metropolis, I wondered for the life of me why, as a Ghanaian, I knew so little of my own nation. And I know I'm not alone. So this, my dear friends, is the solution. If you can't go out and see the world, we will bring the world to you. Welcome.
This is the Adobe Bridge, built in 1957, designed by a 27-year-old British engineer. It straddles a piece of land between the Akosombo and, of course, the beginning of the Volta region. But this bridge is famous for so many different things. Apart from its geographical location, it is famous for the fact that former President Jerry John Rawlings flew an aircraft underneath this bridge. Now, a suspension bridge is quite unique because it doesn't have any poles underneath it supporting it to the ground. It rather has these high tension cables which are holding the road up to the arch above. So this bridge is literally suspending. Every time a car drives on it, I feel the road shake. But I'm not afraid because it is perfectly built and the perfect place for us to begin our first adventure. Because you see, the Adobe Bridge sits in the center of one of the most important kingdoms of Ghana, the Akumu Kingdom. The Akumu Kingdom is a kingdom of warriors. I like to think of them as the forgotten warrior kingdom. These strong, strapping men of this kingdom are the ones whose footprint is marked across the history of Ghana. They have conquered tribes from all the way in the western region, straight across to the Volta region and beyond, into Togo, Benin, Dahomey. At a point, the size of the Akumu Kingdom was big enough to be a representative West African nation. Today, they are settled in perhaps the most beautiful, most picturesque, most fertile corner of Ghana. Just a stone's throw away from Akosombo, the warrior kingdoms have come to rest. And their king, the Akwamu Hene, now resides in this palace at the foot of a mighty mountain. Now today, I'm here as a guest to the king. He has very kindly invited me to come and meet his court and the people with whom he now governs the very noble kingdom of Akwamu.
Every 40 days, the king of Akumu sits in state at the palace and receives guests from around the world as part of the Akwisidai festivities, another custom the Akumu share with the Ashanti kingdom. Today, the king will be receiving tributes from American actors in Ghana as part of the Year of Return and 24 beauty queens or so. Meet Nana Semeshia. He is the curator of the Akwamu Royal Museum and custodian of the rich history of his people dating back to the 11th century.
Welcome to Akwamu Museum, the citadel of Akan tradition and custom.
This is the longest reigning king of Akwamu who ruled from 1936 to 1992, 56 years. And he was the chairman of the Presidential Commission. You know, Kwame Nkrumah never had a vice president. So whenever he moved outside, there was what we call the Presidential Commission. And he chaired the Presidential Commission. So he's Yeah, so he was, maybe I should say today, the vice president of this country once upon a time.
So when Kwame Nkrumah traveled,
Yeah.
he would be left in charge?
Yes, he'll be left in charge as the chairman of the Presidential Commission.
That's amazing.
But the most important thing, which may interest you, are the Christianborg Castle keys.
These are the keys to
Christianborg Castle, the original keys to the Christianborg Castle,
which is known as Osu
Castle. Yeah. Akumu had conquered the whole coast, and Europe was in Christianborg Castle, so he wanted to conquer Europe as well. So what he did was sent his nephew, Asmani, to go there and learn. He went there, he learned the language. He was very nice with the governor. He won the heart of the governor. So he became the interpreter and everything. So one day he came to visit the uncle and said, "Uncle, now I'm the main man here. So what do we do? Give me some people, because you can't fight the Danes from outside. You have to fight them from within." So the men went there with their arms hidden under their cloth. And what happened? Upon buying the arms, they switched the guns on the whites.
They went there to buy guns. So they entered the castle under the guise of
buying arms,
shopping for guns.
Yes. And Asmani was speaking Twi with them because the Danish couldn't understand the language. So all that he did was transact business and turn the guns on the whites. Caught some of them as slaves, war captives to Akumu, and the governor ran away. They came back to negotiate. King Frederick, upon hearing that Akumu had conquered the castle, Asmani conquered the castle and stayed there for 14 months. He dressed like the Danish governor.
So he was basically the governor.
Yes, he was. Yeah, he was the governor. He raised a Akumu flag there. He hosted a Akumu flag every morning. Gave gun salute for every new ship that was landing, and he served his people. He traded with them, negotiated everything, with them, and finally, when the Danish governor and when the Danish king sent emissaries to Akumu, they bargained and said, "Fine." Akumu says, "If you want to buy the castle back, I want to sell the castle to you 1,600 pieces of silver. And the second condition is I want the locks to be changed and give me the original keys."
The old keys.
The old keys to be kept as a trophy. So you see the ingenuity in this case. But fortunately, they couldn't pay all. They paid parts, and still the Danish crown owe Akumu.
How many pieces of silver balance?
600 pieces of silver balance.
Wow.
And it's money now. So I told the Queen when she came here last 2 years, November 25th, I said, "Queen, you owe us." She gave a smile. I said, "Yes, I know I owe you."
Amazing.
Yes.
And it's interesting because it tells us how much the Akumu king back then understood and appreciated symbolism.
Yeah.
So he understood that there will be a day when somebody would deny that such a thing ever happened.
Yes.
And so he wanted evidence.
Evidence.
To prove that he was once
upon a time, conquered the castle, and he was there.
That's amazing. Well, recently a bunch of people took over Osu Castle for their own nefarious purposes, and the national security had some difficulty evicting them. Is it because they came and borrowed one of your keys?
No. Nobody can even enter. You saw when I was coming, I was holding the key in my pocket. You can't take the key.
Looking around the museum, it occurs to me that some of these artifacts must be extremely valuable. Anywhere else in the world, they would be in hermetically sealed glass displays with all kinds of security protecting them from grubby hands and adverse weather. Here, they're just lying on a table.
This is the bulletproof cloth worn by Akumu.
Has that also been tested by UNESCO?
They don't test with gun. They test the age, and the age is correct. It's over 400 years.
Over 400 years old.
Kept by Akumu. And you see, there is everything in it that shows that it is bulletproof. And on Sundays, fortunately, Akumus don't fight. We go to war on Sundays. So on Sundays, we chant and open this thing, and bees will come to surround us, to guide us. On Monday, we chant, we close it, the bees disappear, and we continue the war.
So the bees surround you to disguise you?
No, not disguise, to protect us.
To protect you.
So that no enemy can come.
Oh. Fascinating.
Yeah. And that is it. And, you know, this is the testicle of a male.
Real human male testicle.
And, you know, you look at it carefully.
That is one weathered testicle.
So this is what we use in
Storing the honey.
storing honey.
What's the symbolism here?
It's past, and I can't tell myself. You know. And today, I don't know who doesn't. We don't go to war again. So when there is a big funeral like that of a Santihima, that is, I don't know, greeting a Santihima.
Yes, and the Queen Mother who
who died.
recently.
Yes, I don't know who greeting a Santihima who is sitting down there. And this is one also that we went to Okapini's funeral. Yeah. But this one is still sacred because if I slept with a woman yesterday, I can't touch it today. Still, yes.
Explain that again.
I say it is still sacred. The powers are still there. So when I slept with a woman yesterday, today I can't touch it.
Can any of you guys on the cameras touch it today?
Ghanaians have always been fascinated by the supernatural, but we're not alone in that respect. Stonehenge in England is surrounded by supernatural beliefs and stories that draw over 800,000 tourists every year. The Sea of Galilee in Israel, peppered with historically preserved locations, draws 3.5 million tourists to walk the grounds where miracles are said to have happened while Jesus was on earth. 2.5 million tourists visit the city of Transylvania every year, with 500,000 of them visiting the castle of the fabled vampire Count Dracula in Romania. I guess my point is, superstition sells. So for a nation that wants to encourage tourism, perhaps the time has come for us to organize tour buses to Antoine and Nugoku. Just a thought. Speaking of the supernatural,
You know, everywhere I go, I try to find one thing at least that most people don't know about. This is in Samampo. Loosest translation I can think of is the forest of ghosts. Now this is a place that is very sacred to the Akumu people. In fact, until recently, it would be unheard of for me to be standing at this spot. There are many people who have grown up in this township who as children were told to never come anywhere near the Samampo. But today, I am about to enter. God only knows what's within this forest, but there must be a reason why for centuries nobody was allowed in. Let's see.
you know, there truly is a spine-chilling feeling in the air here. And I doubt it has anything to do with the stories of dwarves and spirits that have been retold by the Akumus for centuries.
It is believed that this forest is inhabited by dwarves. So everywhere you look, there's a possibility that a dwarf, a spirit of the Akumu kingdom may have walked here before. Until recently, white people and albinos were not allowed into the kingdom because of the dwarves of this forest. But we're told that the most recent king performed some rituals, appeased the gods, and today everybody can visit the Akumu kingdom and enjoy its richness.
Across the coast of this country, there are Akwamus everywhere, and they still, in spite of how far history may have flung them from their core, they still owe allegiance to the Akwamu Hene, and they still come here on days like this to pay homage to their king. We've just got the call to go in and greet the king. Come with me.
What's a year Joy TV for the Webby channel? Yes, I can get here. I don't know what I mean. Tenant Yura was a money council. Jetty will buy and win the money. Say just why me. I say a mere to know. That to needing and say, went in my hat and for one whom a pound was useful. Into a buyer. It says, we any Casapreco paint to Any atosode. And would each yura. I know I slept and Nidia Manianing. Let me know how I'm in. It's a quana. Minia, Kumana, my bagoni, a patron, or anything. Nephew, Mania Cravrano, Ogeti. Take my mic.
Akumu is poised for a very huge tourism potential, and it is my dream that whatever plans I have, which I really have plans to make Akumu the tourist destination of Ghana. We're thinking about the boating clubs on the river, the water sports, safaris around, cable cars running from one end to another end to the mountains, to create bush canteens on the mountains and all that for people to come and have fun. Even today, we don't even have this, but look at the fun we are having here. So Akwamu is not coincidence that we are here. Akwamu people has been blessed since time immemorial. When you heard of the Nubians, then Akumu was there. We migrated from the southern Sudan area somewhere around the 11th century. That's when they heard of us. We lived on the Corn Mountains, that's northern of Cote d'Ivoire, for some time before moving to Brong Ahafo, where there were a bigger state there, the Bono Kingdom. We joined them for a little bit. And since Akwamus always wanted to be on their own, we moved to the Chifuhimai area. The Chifuhimai area, that was where we had our first monarch, our first stew. That's the Amampong Kofi stew. That is the paramount stew. Was created, and we had the first monarch in 1505. The first king was known as Utumfo Ajen Kokobo.
So your first king was also called Utumfo
Ajen Kokobo. He was the one who led Akwamus then. We moved from Chifuhima area because the Denchra people were also emerging and a strong force to contend. So Akwamus moved. That was where we had our drum that is called a prempe. That we want to worship any king. So we want to be on our own. So we moved to the Abakrampa area. And Abakrampa area too had a lot of the Fantis, cluster of Fantis there, And anytime you touch one, we come together. Mm-hmm. So we moved to the Asamankasi area. And that was when the king of Akwamu then, Utumfo Asare, created his township called Asare Mainkasi. Today, Asamankasi was created by the Akwamu, the king of Akwamu, Utumfo Asare. We moved from, Akwamus loved to move, because we were always exploring and we were always, kind of entrepreneurial aspect of the Akwamus, always wanted to do something, and expand their frontiers. So when we realized the trade routes connecting from Salaga in the north to the coast, we wanted to take control of the trade routes. So we moved towards the Nyanawasi area. That is the Nsawam vicinity. And that was where we were able to take over and conquer the whole of the Kapim range to the Gas State. The empire was too big. We couldn't control things, we couldn't manage things. So by the year 1728, after the demise of then king, chieftaincy disputes happened. So there was an internal dispute, and our vassal states and the conquered states and Akwamus started taking advantage, coming together with the help of the Danes again, the Dutch and the English, teaming up with the states around Akwamu to pressure Akwamus to move from Yanawaso to here. So history will tell you that we came here somewhere around 1730, thereabout.
Akwamus were pressured here. I would say we were pressured here because, we managed, they depleted our army. The combined forces were able to deplete the army, but the loyal ones, the Jasi group, and some strong Akwamu warriors managed to get the black stew that embodied the soul of the Akwamus, and they moved, because we have to protect that one. Because once you conquer that one, the Akwamu is gone. So somewhere around the year 1730, we managed to cross the river to come to where we are today. History will tell you that we lost the western side of our territory, but we kept the eastern side of the territory. So when we came here, we managed to subdue all the surrounding states around us. And we continued going. Akumu embarked on numerous of wars here too, fighting from here to the Amejope Mountains, But by the year 1866, Akumu laid down his tools by saying he's not fighting anymore. So there's a town called Frankedua. That was when we signed a treaty with Her Majesty, the Britannic government at that time, the Queen of England, that won't fight anymore. So Akumu became the protectorate state of the British at that time. In short, that is Akumu for you, some of the things and how we got here.
Indeed. And here is actually a very beautiful part of our nation. It's like you mentioned, this is where the Akosombo Dam is. You've got the Volta River passing through. The expectation would be that this would perhaps be the area that benefits the most from the presence of these installations. But that hasn't necessarily been the case.
Yeah.
Why is that?
Yeah, you see, like I was saying, that is Ghana for you. It develops from communities to communities to communities. Ghana as a whole have not been able to tap its potential as well, and we are no different, We are lucky. Akumu is just around the corner. It is part of our land, our territory. So the goodwill is there. When you mention Akumu in the whole world, it is up to us to make the whole package a reality. And that is why when I took over the throne, swearing an oath to my people that I will lead them in terms of anything, I'm just trying to play my role and doing my best. Chieftaincy, now being a king now, it's more of a responsibility than a privilege. I say that because you have to lead your people well. You have to bring development. Otherwise, you are not a king. My dream is to make Akumu the tourism destination in Ghana.
The Akwamu Kingdom is the home of one of the most serene, well-planned and picturesque towns in Ghana, Akosombo. This is where the massive hydroelectric power station and dam built by Kwame Nkrumah can be found. It is a popular weekend destination for the more adventurous Ghanaian, in large part because of the rather superlative hotels in the area, like this one. And this one. The Volta Hotel has recently awakened a giant from the dead. The Dodi Princess was the jewel of the Volta Lake. The only cruise ship in Ghana sailed millions of passengers across the serene waters of the Volta Lake over a 30-year period until it mysteriously burned to a cinder in 2013. Today, though, that magical experience has been lovingly recreated on the Dodi Princess II. It's certainly no mean feat keeping a massive vessel like this afloat. Oh, and just one more thing before we go.
Right, can you see this white building behind me, this house, with a big flower pot in front of it? Now, I just learned the most mind-blowing piece of information about this house, which is only about 100 meters away from the Akwamu's palace. I have just discovered the most fascinating bit of information. But don't take it from me. Let's get the curator of the Akumu Museum to tell us why this house.
This house is very, very special because it's the second in command in Akwamu State. When the king is not there, that is the house that rules administratively, you know. So that house is very special. And you know what? Akufo-Addo is a royal in the house.
Wait, the president, Akufo-Addo?
The present president, the sitting president.
Uh-huh.
The sister is the queen mother. And the the auntie was the queen mother before, and now the sister is a queen mother here.
I see. So that means the president Akufo-Addo is actually an Akumu?
In the Akan system, we go seriously matrilineal. So Akufo-Addo, by all intents and purposes, is an Akumu, a typical Akumu.
So his mother is from this house?
Yes. The grandmother migrated from here to marry in Achim. So to Achim, he's a grandson to the stool. But here he's a royal. A royal.
Wow. That's fascinating. Ghanaians have always believed him to be an Achim.
He is not. I say emphatically that he is not. That is his patrilineal system. And maybe that is even grandfather. Because the father comes from a Kopong.
Wow. Okay, well, I mean, while I'm trying to get my head around that interesting piece of information, it turns out he's not the only person who has led this country who came from this house.
Oh, you want to know?
Yes.
Rollins' mother is from the very house.
What?
Yes. The Agbuti, the Kublenus, the Heymans from Keita are all from this house. And today, that is their house. That's their royal house.
So Rawlins's mother
is
from here.
Yeah.
Akufo-Addo's grandmother is from here. That kind of makes Akufo-Addo Rawlins's nephew.
Yes. It's a fact. And tell them, because I went to Bajeme, I saw a Rawlins and I asked him, "Are you not Akwamu?" He said, "Oh yes, I know I'm an Akwamu." And Akufo-Addo comes here, he says he's an Akwamu. And maybe another interesting story later. Maybe I'll tell you.
Are there more people?
More people, not from that house.
Okay.
But from the very big house that you come from.
Uh-huh.
The Secretary General, the Secretary General who died, is also an Akumu.
I see.
Yes.
Good.
Kofi Annan.
Yes.
He's from Akumu.
So this is really the home of not just warriors, but leaders.
Leaders. Because I told you today, we have the biggest leaders and we brought the emancipation or independence to the Black Africa. In the person of Asmani. Yes. So we have a chronicle of them.
You know, this house ought to be surrounded by tourists by now. This is a fascinating piece of Ghanaian
Maybe if you
history.
get there, you see a whole lot of obituaries that are made from Volta region. Because this is their house.
It's amazing. Well, who would have thought? President Akufo-Addo is an Akumu, and so is former President Rawlings. In fact, Akufo-Addo is Rawlings' nephew.
Yeah.
Strictly speaking.
Yeah.
Did you know that?